this is what we're going to go over today. Are you familiar with the SWOBOTS thing? What is that? Very confident. Yes, students will be able to. Very good. So the idea is like the stateless nature of HTTP. Right? Who right now like has an understanding, right? Just by a show of hands, like stateless nature of HTTP. Okay, don't worry. We'll talk about it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Understand the difference between like a flash and a session. We're talking about sessions to make HTTP stateful, powerful, and then understand how cookies enable sessions to work. So we're gonna basically build a shopping cart today. But before we get to that, there's at least some ground rules, so we have established a baseline. In terms of sessions and cookies, right, what are your thoughts on what they are? What is a session? What is a cookie? And it's okay if you don't know, but if you did the labs, you might have some guess. That's why the labs are important. Okay, powerful. All right, most of you just reading it. So what are sessions? Let me just help you out here. Yeah, the idea here is, what's up?
Oh.
Or you just get read?
I was going to ask where you want to start.
Okay. So what I want to start with, it's helpful if you formulate a hypothesis or if you attempt to try the answer. And here's why, and I'm going to give you that in like 2 seconds. Here's why. Like, there have been studies at Harvard, MIT, in terms of like teaching, student responsiveness, and learning. And that if you're posed a question, if you are sitting there waiting to receive the answer without attempting to formulate your own answer, you don't learn as much. If you make a guess and you are right, there's that positive reinforcement that you're like, oh man, I got it, and you feel good about that. If you are wrong in your mind, even if you don't raise your hand, you feel like, oh, this is what I think it is. And then I give you the correct answer, you're like, ooh, okay. You have a more solid understanding because you made the guess and then you corrected it. There was active learning there. Rather than, hey, what are sessions? I don't know, man, just tell me. That becomes memorization. And who here feels like memorization is an effective learning technique? Okay. Surprise, it is not. But good guess and good attempt will help you learn. The idea is that if you actually formulate your own opinion and then you correct it or you reinforce it, it is better for you. There's too much to learn out there. We live in the age of technology and information. It's too much. It's better to just learn and master the concepts and then just Google the syntax, whatever. Because if you can manipulate the concepts, the idea, you could do anything. If you force and memorize how to do something, guess how many things you know how to do? 1. All right? Cool. What's up?
All right, so I'm just going to say, because I feel that I'm getting my cookies and my sessions a little mixed up, but every time you were to log into your account, say, Facebook, for instance, whenever you log in, it already has a pre-set list of login information ready to go.
Okay.
So with that information ready to go, you don't have to re-log in every single instance, especially on a mobile device. You don't want to have the ability or the difficulty having to put your information at the same time. So I feel like sessions is the way to log that information into your session all the time when you're having this there. Or is that the cookies that is sent and post that information on a keychain that resends every single time so I can calculate hash boundaries into it?
Interesting. Okay. I'm going to clarify that. By answering your question specifically, I don't think that's going to help the rest of the class, but I will answer that question in the broader scope. Yes?
All right. So a session, I feel like a session would probably be more so like a user's singular experience with an application. So like from starting an application, that therein starts a session, and that's that user's experience with that application while the application runs.
Pretty much. Yeah, it does make sense. I'm not going to repeat that because I don't want people to like solidify that exact definition, but your understanding is right on the money. So the idea is this. When you make a request to any browser, it's simply like a get to slash like your boy, whatever, right? Let's just go to a website like say Espen, right? Popular website. MBD? Oof, amazing. The idea is I made a get to espn.com/nothing, right? So what happened? I'm the client, it's me over here, like the browser, Chrome, my computer, and I make this network request. It hits like the router, the DNS, and it goes into the internet, right? The cloud, whatever that means. And it goes out, and then it hits the ESPN server. The first thing it checks is like, hey, do you have something known as a cookie? A cookie is just a bunch of key value pairs. Does anyone have an example of what a key value pair would look like in Ruby?
It's just a hash.
Just a hash, right? Just a hash. So it's just a bunch of key value pairs. And then it's like, oh, cool, you don't have one? Yo, here you go, fam. Fresh baked. And then it sends back the HTML. The response is this HTML, and there's a cookie inside. So if you open up, have you seen the DevTools yet? Yes? No? Yeet that hall for show? This is new or not new? New? Not new. Okay. To give you an idea of what this is, oh wow, embarrassing. It's embarrassing, yes, man. Anyways, there should be no errors. Bloop. So the idea is that you can be in the DevTools, and you're going to learn a lot more about this in Mod 3. This helps you develop for the internet, and it uses a lot of JavaScript magic. So let's take a look at where our cookies are stored. Oh my God, look at this. If I open application right here, you're going to see boop, 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 something called cookies. Let's take a look. Ooh, all of these cookies, so powerful. Cookies are domain specific. What I mean by that is ESPN can only give me cookies for ESPN. So if I look at ESPN's cookies, look at this, name and value. They're just key value pairs. The idea is that they should have some sort of key and some sort of unreadable hash, and this will make sense later. So boom, 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 and you really shouldn't be able to theoretically understand this. Cool? It's just key values, and they're encrypted because it sends data back and forth. So if this is in plain text, it exposes your information. So we want to make sure it's encrypted. So when you make the request and it sends you back that cookie, it's just key values that are encrypted. How do we feel about what a cookie is? It's just a bunch of key values, and usually it's encrypted. That's it. And they get passed back and forth. When I make another request to say my favorite team ever, the best NBA, the Knicks, obviously. Okay, I grew up in the Patrick Ewing days when the Knicks were good. It has been like 20 years. Anyways, RESTful routing, I'm going to NBA for teams. And then what happens is this. I make this request to /NBA/team/the Knicks, and then it checks like, yo, dog, you got that cookie? And I have it. I sent it along with my request. That's what the browser will do for you. And then it may or may not add something to it, and then it sends it back. That's how they track you. Every time you send the request, and then it gets back, they read and or add or delete to it. And then when you send a new request, they read it again, and they add or delete. That way, when you go to another website, it'll be like, yo, for example, who here did some like Black Friday, Cyber Monday shopping? Okay, great. Just me. I'm a victim of capitalism. And I tried to buy my mom like a bidet for, does anyone know what a bidet is? Okay, bidet is something that washes your butt after you use the toilet, right? Cool, no big deal. Tried to buy my mom one. She went to Japan. She was like, oh my God, I love these things. And now Amazon just sends me advertisements for bidets. They're just like, hey, you want to buy some more? I'm like, no, I just want to buy one of these things. But that's what's happening. I go to a website and they're like, oh, I've noticed that you have also been to these websites and you've looked these things up because it passed inside your cookies. That's how they do these targeted ads. And that's how this cookie being passed back and forth allows them to track you. And so, in the same way, when you're logged in, right, how many times do you open up Gmail, Google Calendar, something like that, and you have to type in your username and password every single time? No, right? Once you log in, you're like, great, let me just check Gmail real quick. I'm not going to do it because the screen's being recorded. See my emails. But then I'll just be logged in. It's because they're keeping track of me through that cookie. In that key value pair, there's some sort of authorization that says, yo, dog, you've already put in your username or password. I trust you. This is the same computer you were at. And so you're good to go. And you're already logged in. We're going to learn more about that tomorrow, cool? But this is how it plays in. That make sense? So far, so good? Cookies, tracking, pass back and forth, same domain. Okay, cool. So now what a session is inside one of these. Let's go to another website. Have you seen this website before? GitHub. It's a popular developer website. You guys should familiarize yourself with it. Look at this champion right here. Look at this champion. All right. Let's take a look at those cookies. Bloop. Bloop, bloop, bloop. All right. Here we go. I'm logging in. Wow. So secure. That's my username. Surprise. And I'm logged in. Yes. Wow. I bet you if I did something like this, github.com, this is incognito, which means it doesn't track you. And if it doesn't track you, knowing what we just know, what does it not save and store?
Cookies.
I was looking for cookies, but also in that, like your username and stuff. Yeah. Smart. Look at you. Learning already. Let's take a look. The application. Oh, logged in? Wow. Surprise, surprise. Not logged in. Amazing. Right? So, what the session is, it's one of these key value pairs within the cookie, which are a collection of key value pairs. So far, so good. So cookies, sessions. And the session is encrypted, and that's what keeps track of whether or not you're like logged in and your authentication. So it's just one of the key values inside the bigger picture.
So a section is only like the login info, like the authorization?
It keeps track of information that you want passed back and forth. Specifically for the session, it's very much like you said, and that is you're the user that's logged in. Here's information about that user back and forth. Right, so the classic example of session is like login, keeping you logged in, which we'll learn more about tomorrow. So this lecture, what are some thoughts about building out something else that keeps track of information? Right, I talked about Cyber Monday and Black Friday. Every time you go to a new page, it's a brand new request. And one of the things about Rails is when you make a request, let's take a look at a Rails app, like say this nachos controller. If I make a request to /index, can you see this in the back? Let me just do bloop, 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 bloop. Just let me know. Okay, cool. All right, bloop. That was fine then. So the idea is that if I make a request to this index controller action, notice how I have @nachos. If I were to go to the show, inside the show page, is there such thing as @nachos? If I had in my show page @nachos.each do, and then I built out some HTML, like a p tag that was like nacho.name, would it exist? What would Rails tell me? What would Lord Rails say? Who feels comfortable that like @nachos be undefined in the show page? Right? So the idea is that from request to request, the state of the request, the information that's in that request, @nachos for index, usually there's some sort of @nacho params find by inside the show. So let me just do that. Bloop, 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 bloop. Does that look more familiar? And then we know Rails has like the implicit render. So bloop. Did I do anything crazy? Who feels okay with what I just did? Yeah? All right, good deal. Wow, look at that participation. So powerful. So the idea is that nachos exist in this request, @nacho exists in this request. If I had a new, I'd have to make a new instance variable, right? So each request has its own state. This is the information that's allowed in this request. So from request to request, do they carry over? If I was on the index page and I clicked a link to the show page, would I still have access to @nachos? if I'm in the index page, right, I have like all these dogs, right? Clifford, the big red dog, right? Snoopy, the red baron, and I clicked one, and it redirected me to the show page. Would I have access to the @nachos instance variable in the show page? So request to request, the state, the data that's in there, sort of, then it washes its hands, it sings happy birthday, getting the nails, it washes its hand of it, and they're gone. So request to request, they're stateless. But you have already learned how to pass data from one request to another using errors and validation, specifically with what? Right, the flash hash. Flash hash allows you to pass data from one request to the next. That's how you keep track of the errors. Now, flash lasts how many requests? Who said 2? 1 request. The problem is, that's not very good. You only have 1 request. If you're logged in, do you want to be logged in for 1 request, or do you want to be logged in the whole time? All right, so we need something new that's going to keep track of this state, the information from request to request to request, more than 1 request. So Flash was great for errors because you only need the error messages like 1 time, right? You don't want like, hey, username wrong for every single request, just that 1 time when it was wrong. So now I want to introduce something called the session. So how do we use Flash here? If I wanted to add Flash to the show page, just type Flash. Right, very good. Just type Flash. Flash, boom. All right, Flash is a hash that's globally available in your Rails application. So far, so good. Okay, guess how I can access the session hash? Just type session. Wow, amazing. Whoa, powerful. This is the session hash. Session hash, just like a regular hash, has key values, right? I'm seeing a very beautiful Filipina lady, and I talk like that now. So the idea is that it's just a random hash that you have access globally to. So far, so good? Okay. Question?
So the way that Flash stores one instance of the code, when you have your sessions, since it persists as any calls to another show you know, what prevents it from just having everything in the session?
What prevents the session from having everything in it?
Does it just hold on to every single value no matter where you are? Like you had sessions in the show and you know that you have just pop that session. Is it the same sessions? You could put the show first and then edit first. What persistent sessions that you go through?
Ooh, what persistent sessions? Let's take a quick look later on in this lecture, yeah? So, cool. How we feel about sessions and cookies, and how to use them, kind of what the differences are. So far, so good? Yeet? I'm trying to be relatable. Yeah, yeet. Let's yeet that haul. All right, cool. It's like yeehaw, except it's yeet that haul. All right, cool. Let's go to this amazing application with my boy. Do you guys recognize this? The mayor of Flavortown, Guy Fieri. Okay. So this is powerful. Bless up to Chromeboy Kong. There's another lead instructor that I used to work with. R.I.P. He's not dead. Just rest in power. He's like working at another company. So, wow. All right. So here's your app, right? Amazing application. I spent hours styling this, so appreciate you marveling at its wonder. The idea is this. You have your shopping cart that's being tracked here. And you've got all of these nachos here. I usually do this lecture before lunch, and I'm always hungry. So if I click one of these, we should see, right? Like we should see the show page. So if I click here, and it's like, wow, trash can nachos. Nachos literally made in a garbage can, alleyway behind the restaurant. Each one of these are real items on Guy Fieri's menu, except we just made up our own description. So trash can nachos are a real thing. You can buy these. They aren't made in a trash can behind the restaurant, but they come in a trash can. You can Google this later. or write a blog post on it. Anyways, the idea is that I want to, this is the feature I want. My user story says that if I have a bunch of nachos on my screen, I can see all the nachos that are available. I can see the menu. And I want to be able to add a nacho to the cart. That's the user story. I want to keep track of this nacho. Now, the implementation of the feature, as it gets to the devs, are very different. So the idea is that you want you to be able to create user stories and then separate that idea of how it's broken down. So the beautiful thing about being a dev, and also the super scary thing, is who feels comfortable right now saying, I can build this right the now. I got you, fam. Here we go, airborne, 100%. Okay? Okay? Like, gladiator thumbs up, I could do it, or like, or like somewhere in the middle, like not sure yet. Okay, the idea is this. Every single thing you do in dev, you will be about 30 or 40% sure how to do it. And that's okay. And that's why they pay you the buku bucks. They just pay you to look up how to do it and fix it on the fly. It's very dangerous. The entire web is just barely hanging on. Like one semicolon and the internet will break. It's scary. It's hilarious, but also like, oh my God. Anyways, welcome to development. So the idea is this. We're going to take you through this feature in the next 23 minutes. Oh, whoa, just kidding. 23 minutes. Because you already know how to do 50% of this, but what I want to teach you is a process. How do I think about how I'm going to do this? Then look up each individual step, and then you should be able to build it. That's really what development's all about. So, the first thing is what? How should this feature work? That's the step. The first step in your process is how should this feature work? You go back to the user story. I want to add something to my cart. So, how do I add something to my cart from the user perspective? Do I go hacker man? Do I try opening the dev tools and like adding something? I just click the button, right? As a user, I'm just like, oh, I want to add this to my cart. These trash can nachos seem bomb. I'm just going to click it. That's the user story. That's like how the user is going to experience your website. So what does this look like? That's right. I don't ask very difficult questions, by the way. So there's no mind games here. It's just a bouton, right? I got into this really bad habit of pronouncing like everything poorly. So if I say something you don't understand, just be like, I don't know what that means. It's a button, right? A bouton. How do I look at where this button will take me? If I click this bouton right now, what will it do? Bring us to cart? It will add it to the cart, which is the feature we don't know how to build yet, right? So what will it really do? There's only one way to find out, and that is my favorite way of building applications. You ever heard of TDD, Test-Driven Development? BDD, which is like the capybara tests, behavior-driven development. And now there's EDD. It's not Evans-driven, yes. It's error-driven development. So if I click this, oh my goodness, there's no route that matches post to /nachos, which makes sense because buttons are just sneaky forms. And the idea is that what does a form usually submit to? RESTful routing. If I'm going to submit a form, it will normally go to, it will default to post to, yes, post to /nachos. Right? Y'all just kept saying post. That's just an HTTP verb. Come on now. Right? It will post to /nachos. You as a developer, right, do you want this add to cart button to go to post to /nachos? Who says yes? Okay, I'll wait till you're ready. Thank you, Siri. Processing, loading. Where do we want it to go? What would make sense to you in your head? I want to add something to a cart. Oh my God, bless up. I just want it to go to /cart. Would that make sense to you? Okay, great. Now here's the thing, right? We're just one step at a time, right? Take it one step at a time. Do you know how to change this button to go to a different route? Yes. Okay, do I know how to add routes? Wow. Let's do it. Let's do it. Just do it. Sorry, I just have this bad song stuck in my head. Where would I go to add that or change the bouton, the routing for it? Routes would make me create a route, but yes, specifically on this page, which is showing all of my nachos, perhaps an index of all my nachos, what page do you think this might be? That's right. Again, the questions aren't hard, right? Index.erb. Wow. So I see a link to the nacho name, right? Very good. I see the nacho price. Awesome. Where is the button being created? Where is the button being made? Yeah? Where is that happening? Okay, the reason I'm talking like this is because you have to see and learn how to communicate with another developer so that you're on the same page. Because one of the beautiful things about this job is like, yo dog, I'm not feeling it. And then you type in the best letters that you will ever write in your entire life. You ever seen this before? Work from home. Yeah. You're just gonna be like, yo dog, I'm not feeling it. I'm just gonna today. And then someone's like, hey, listen, I need you to build this feature. Do you want to go in? Or you're like, yo, let's just get on a Zoom call. Why don't you just help me out remotely? So if you're on a Zoom call, you need to be able to talk to another developer and be able to communicate effectively. So when you say things like, hey, can you edit that button? But what if there are 4 buttons on the page? You'll say, hey, go to line 19, in your button 2, let's add a route. That is very clear. And that makes your pair programming time that much more efficient. As a developer, you'll start off probably like 70, 75, maybe. And then like, honestly, like a year and a half, 2 years, you should break 100. When you make that much money, you will make at 120 something thousand a year, you make $1 a minute. So be efficient with your time, yeah? Okay, cool. That should have been inspiring, except I saw a lot of like, huh, that was suspicious. It should have been like, yeah, let's get that bread. And here's how to do it. In the button 2, right? I want to add a route. How can I do that? Huh? Comma then the route path. Where would we want to go to? What do we say? /cart. Somebody said cart path. Does that exist? Not yet, but guess who can make it? Us. That's right. So let's keep it simple, all right? Like, you ever heard of the KISS philosophy? Keep it simple, silly. Come on now. Wow, you guys are quite aggressive. All right, so let's add those routes. Did you like that? Did you see that? That magic? So I use Atom, so I know all the Atom shortcuts. But the idea is that at some point, you will have too many files here. And if you want to jump to something really fast, you can hit Command-P in Visual Studio Code, and that's going to bring up the fuzzy search for your files. And I say fuzzy search, it's because you don't actually have to memorize the route. So for example, you have app, controllers, then you have the nachos controller. If I want to go to the nachos controller very quickly, I hit my Command-P. Here on Atom, it's Command-T. Now I want to get to the nachos controller. Yeah, it came up super fast, but the idea is I can do, oh, it's somewhere in app, and then it's somewhere in controllers, and then it's somewhere like nachos. Wow. Close. Except you can be even lazier, because you can be fuzzy, and you can say, I think it's in app, controllers, nachos, control. Bless up to technology. The fuzzy search is amazing, and it gets you where you want to go very quickly because of that $1 a minute price tag that you will be commanding soon. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to give this to you because we already know it's like a /cart. But why did I want to do patch? If I'm going to, I don't know, my cart, I should probably, wow, you guys are, I'm literally in a Sesame Street outfit right now. So you know how that goes, right? Like backpack, say backpack. So yeah, it's like a patch, right? So instead add to cart, which is what I previously had, /cart is actually mo better, right? And I'm going to patch to cart. Man, I come from a different generation. Pound. Remember that? Okay, wow, throwback. All right, cart, hashtag, update. So what does this mean? There's a cart controller, right? And so I just used update because I'm lazy. It could be anything you want, right? It could be cart, hashtag, give me that nacho. In which case, what will you need to do? Make the method in the cart controller, right? I did that for you. Oh, snap. This is all this extra code that I should not have left in there. Embarrassing. Embarrassing. You didn't see it. Right? Very true, but the time you get to look at it will be after the lecture. All right, just kidding. So the idea is that I'm going to hit this update method. So what do we want to update? All right, this is where the hard part is, right? The first part is, okay, I can at least get the button to work. I know the routing. I can manipulate the button. I want to hit this update. So what do we want to update? We want to update this cart thing, right? But what should the cart thing be? If I'm just going to hold, think about what the cart does, right? If I add trash can nachos to this thing, then I want to add danger dogs to this thing. I want to add a hamburger to this thing. Right? It's some sort of data structure that allows me to hold a bunch of items. So we can do an array. Cool, watch this. Ready? Cart equals array. Wow. Am I just revealing too much here? No, right? Like, you can do this. So inside the cart, what do we want to do? We want to take the cart and add in the nacho. Right? That's what we want to do. How can I get the nacho in this update method? Well, let's think. Let's test this method here. Yeah? So let's just see if it works. Create that short feedback loop, right? I made the route, I made the button, I hit this controller action. Let's test. So if I go back to my powerful application, I hit refresh so the code loads. And then I hit mac and cheese nachos and I hit add to cart. Bloop. What the? Oh, did I not save the...
It's trying to post it's finding hash.
Interesting. Where did I put that again?
That was
In the show? In the index? Oh, that's right. Embarrassing. I have a /cart, and it's trying to post to /cart, but I have a patch. How can we change that? How can we force the method to be patch on this button? Maybe we can just force the method to be patch. Wow. Complicated? Very. Rails, 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 Rails. All right. Okay, just kidding. Console I. Let's go back. And let's add these danger dogs. 3 doll hairs. Cool? It seems to be hanging on my every word here. And then I'll just go to my server. Ooh, bless up. So it works. All right, it's good to go. What's the first thing we usually want to check when it comes to, oh, look at all those errors. What's the first thing we usually want to check once we get here? Params, right? Oh, params. Okay. Underscore patch, authenticity token, great. Controller cart, action, whatever, got it. So we can check the flash hash and see, because it's globally available, oh, it's empty, right? It just dumped it because it only lasts 1 request. And I promised I'd show you what's in the session controller. So the flash is pretty empty, but I think I'll need to do this real quick. Bloop. Let's take a look at what's in that session hash. Whoa, dank. Lots of stuff. And here's what's happening. I got to keep track of a lot of things, all right? So the session hash is going to be massive. And there's a lot of information in there, like, oh, I don't know, let's just try to find something. Wow, that's my name. Muy malo. For those that don't habla español, it means very malo. So the idea is that I have information in here that I shouldn't be exposing. So what Rails will do, bless up to Lord Rails, is we'll take all this information in the session and we'll sort of encode it. It is doing what is known as hashifying. It will take all of this, make it into some unreadable garbage string, store it in the cookie, pass it back and forth. Because when it comes back to my Rails controller in the next request, Rails is like, oh, cool. You think it's unreadable garbage, but I will take it and I will descramble it, and I can pull information that I need once it's back in my Rails controller. Cool? Yeah.
Is this all cookies from the browser to all the sites that you visited?
Yes. Browser cookies are a universal concept. Now, Rails sessions specifically are to Rails. Other things can create sessions.
I mean, like in a Rails session hash, do you also get the cookies from other domains? Or is it because your browser's going to hold?
It will receive, it'll receive everything, all the key values. Cool. So, here's the thing. Boop, let's clear that kind of nonsense, right? So, who feels okay about why we want to hashify and like make it unreadable? Because what if it's your password? Right? We don't want that out there. No one wants to log in as Evans Wang, password 12. Just kidding. I don't want to say that out loud. So, we want to check params. That's the idea. Why do we want params though? What would be super ultra delightful for us to have inside the params? What would be very useful for us so we can do something with the params? Let's think through. Developers. What do you want? You want the nacho, right? That's the easy part. So the thing is like, how do we get the nacho to go into params? Well, where are the params coming from? The params come from the form, which we all know the button 2 is a sneaky form. So there must be some way, I don't know, add params to button 2. How do you add additional params to a button 2? Oh my god. Let's take a look. You just add the params option. What? No way. I don't believe it. Let's take a look at the button 2 from the docs. That I believe. Anytime you're ready. Come on, dog. Let's go. $1 a minute. Time is money. So I can just add a method, right? Like post, put, patch, delete. I can do some sort of data. I can just add params. What? Oh my god. Oh, there's no example of it. That was embarrassing. Cool. Let's just take a look at this one. It says that in Rails 5, but also this. Look at this. Isn't this the greatest symbol you've ever seen? You're like, oh, this works. Cool. So you just go button 2, and then you just go scroll all the way over here. Method post, right? We use method patch. Cool. And then if you just scroll on through, it looks like, come on, dog. You just pass the params in. There, like this. Oh, okay, great. Params is the key, and then you just give it what you want to pass in for the params. So let's try it. Like a dirtbag, I'm just going to copy the code exactly like I see it. And then I'm going to make sure, comma. I'm going to put a space here because like the line ends there and it's going to be unreadable. Params, great. But I don't want start point. What do I really want? I want the nacho. Awesome. Okay? Do I want it 3 months ago? You know it. Starving. But what do we actually want? Maybe nacho name, something like that. Let's think through what is actually happening here.
You just want to pass in the object, nacho.
Exactly. The idea is if I pass in nacho.name, what comes across as params? What data structure? Array, string, number, hash, string. We know that if it's just a string, we can only call string methods on it, and it's not powerful. We pass in the full nacho object, and we have all the nacho methods associated with it. Here's the one caveat that we will reveal right now. Unfortunately, you cannot pass in full objects into cookies. it can only come across as strings. So nacho name is not very good. But what can we pass in as a string that can help us reference this nacho later from our database? What would be awesome and important to have? Some sort of identifier for the nacho. Nacho identifier. Wow. What do we want to change that to then? Okay, and should it just be nacho? Wow. Great, this is what we're going to do. I lied to you. It is 12:26. I can finish this in 4 minutes, but you won't learn nothing. Let me bloop. All right, so great. We tried this like params key, and we are attempting to pass in the nacho ID with the nacho.id, right? We have access to the nacho object here inside the map, and it's just being passed in here. So that's what this obnoxious button press is for. But thank you. Good catch. Let's test, right? One thing, test. One thing, test. Shorten that feedback loop so you know exactly what went well and what didn't. All right, let's do it. Boop, boop, boop. Oops, I'm still in the binding. I'm embarrassing. Let's just, y'all ever continue the binding? Just like see the code run? All right, you just do this. You know, we lazy. All right, cool. Let's try to hit this one more time. So the idea is if I try to add these mac and cheese nachos, if I hit add to cart, I'm going to be in the binding. Bloop, bloop. I'm going to be back here. And I'm in the buy bug. So what do we want to check? Params. What are we hoping is in there, though? Nacho ID. If mac and cheese nachos is not 1 and not 3, but we see bless up. That was too much. Nacho ID is in there. Amazing. What could we do with this information? Say again over?
Refine the object.
Refine the object? Sure, but I'm talking about one thing at a time. What can we do? Remember, we created this cart, and we want to, yeah, we want to take the ID. All right, I'll help you out here. Ready? Take the, how do I access this? Params at a key of, that's what I thought. Bloop. Wow, V good. Let's close this. At a key of nacho ID. So far, so good. So far, so bad. But not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. Run DMC? Okay, great. So the idea is that like I can now push in this nacho ID into my cart. What happens every time I hit update? What's the first thing it will do? It will reset my cart and make it a brand new empty array. So this might work for one item, right? But what if I wanted to add 2 items? 3. Is how the count counts on Sesame Street. If I wanted to add multiple items to this, how would I solve this problem? Add at cart, interesting. So the idea is that we want some sort of like persisted cart by creating a class variable, interesting. Cool. What if we did something like this? What's the logic here? The logic is we don't want to overwrite the cart, right? We don't want the cart to be reset brand new every time. So what should we check to see first? What was that? Is the cart empty or not? Right? That's great logic to me. The first thing we need, though, is whether or not we have a cart. So, if, maybe, cool. If cart, right, dot exists, Oops. Something like this. And then just be like, all right, if it exists, what do I want back? Just give me the cart back, right? Else, boop, boop. Just kidding, that was weird. Cool. If the cart exists, give me the cart. Otherwise, make a new one. Does that make sense? That way it's kind of like always there. It gets better though. Instead of if the cart exists, we can do if there is no cart, then create the cart. What an optimization, right? Amazing. Amazing. All right, let's go one step further. If the cart exists, make it. Cool? No? Oops. Embarrassing. That was embarrassing. Boop, boop. What does this mean? What are the double pipes? Or, right? So if you were to read these back to back, how would you read it? Or equals. So this is saying, hey, it's cart or equals empty array. This is just saying like, hey, if it's there, cool, give it to me. Right? Cart's good, don't do anything. Or otherwise, make it. This concept is known as memoization. It will make your code very fast.
Is that like something like other programming language also has? Or is it
This is a programming paradigm. It's like a pattern that is applicable to all languages. And that's the beauty. Like, we're not teaching you, like, this is the Ruby way. This is just a very good pattern to learn and understand. Cool? All right. Here's the thing about the cart, though. Couple things. The first thing is, it's in my cart controller, which is cool. I have right now a nachos controller that's going to hit this. But if I had a hamburger controller, a hot dog controller, I have other controls, other items. Right? You're going to Macy's. You can buy shoes controller maybe. You can buy dresses. You can buy hats. You can buy whatever you want. The cart logic and the cart itself, how can I make it accessible to all the controllers? Where would I want to put something that all the controllers have access to? Right? Where would that be, maybe? The application controller, right? So let's move the cart logic into the application controller. So I'm just going to go, bloop, get rid of that for now. And inside my application controller, I've done some work for you. I need to build that cart. Then I want to add that nacho to the cart. And then I'm going to get the items in the cart. And this will make sense here in a second. Let's add that. Let's create that cart, right? So we just did this. What was it again? Okay. Whoops. Here's the thing. Cart is just a local variable, right? You had this great idea of creating this class variable. Do class variables work for other classes? No, they're scoped to that class. Is there something that we know that is globally available? Maybe a global variable, which can be dangerous, but something else that's available. Global variables will be available everywhere, but they will not persist state to state. So the conditions that we need is some sort of object, something that's available globally, that will persist from state to state, because that's what we need for our shopping cart. What can we do? can formulate that thought earlier with the title of the lecture. Cookie. So I'm just going to type cookie here. It's weird that it highlighted. I don't know what that really does, to be honest with you. I don't think that was available. But we have the session. We know that's a hash. So session at a key of cart or equals this. Now we have this cart that's globally available that will persist from state to state. That's not scoped to the class. And this is how we have solved this problem.
So session is literally what we use to write to the cookie, right? Because kind of like the hard drive session.
One more time.
Like session is what we use to write to the cookie, right?
Session, yes, they're just key values that go into the cookie. That's correct.
So, won't that cause a situation because session always exists?
Yes.
So it'll never not be there. So won't it always just like it'll never be false with the statement.
It will never be false with that statement. What does that mean?
Because session always persists, so it's always around. So it can never not be a product. Or never be.
When you first go to ESPN.com, you get a brand new cookie. Will the session exist?
At that time, yeah.
Yes, your session exists, right? You got the brand new cookie, the session exists. But is the key of cart exist in that session? That first time you go?
Okay, so it depends on the key that
All right, you want to make it the first time, then never make it again.
you define your session with that key.
Smart. Cool. And now we want to add the nacho to the cart. So if I were to take the session at a key of cart, which is literally this, bloop, bloop. And now I want to do all that logic, and I want to push in that nacho ID. Where is this nacho ID coming from? Nacho ID. Where is it coming from? Okay, cool. Remember, application controller is inherited by everything. So if I go back to my cart controller, do I have access to add nacho to cart inside here? Okay. Inside here, right? Sorry, let me get rid of, Inside here in the update, we know we have params at a key of nacho ID. So I'm just going to go bloop. So far, so good? So this must need what? It needs params. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give it what exactly? What is this expecting to receive? All right. The nacho ID, right? Just name it whatever we want. So what am I trying to push into the cart? The nacho ID. So far, so good? Come on. So now, what is cart? What is inside cart? It is an array of what? An array of what? IDs. An array of IDs. So let's think. Can we use just an array of IDs and slap it into some HTML and have that render for us? In the index, can I just do cart.each? I'm sorry. Session. Ooh, smart. .cart.each. Technically I can, but what are they? It's an array of what? Numbers. So if I do session at a key of cart each do, bloop, bloop, and these are numbers, what do I do with these numbers, right? Like if I make a li tag and I put in the number, like what does that do for me? I should probably Ruby embed this, right? Bloop. What happens? I just get numbers, right? So if I'm a user and I see, let's just see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. Cool. me save my, I don't need this by bug. I don't need this line anymore. Let's just see what happens. I'm gonna continue. So if I refresh the page, route row, undefined method each for nil class. What is happening here? Why? What does this error mean? Nil class. I can't call each on nil class.
Never made a key card.
Who thinks it's because I never made a key of cart in session? Who has a different opinion? Who has no opinion? Okay. Well, without thinking about why, let's think about what. I'm trying to call dot each on nil class. What is nil class right now? Let's break this down. I'm trying to call dot each on. Thank God. This line is even highlighted. Isn't that amazing? So what must be nil? Session at a key of cart, which makes sense because the first time I load the page, what did we just talk about in terms of the session existing? Does the session exist? The session exists, but does the key of cart? No. We have to wait until somebody tries to add it to the cart, then it will create the cart or check to see if it's there, then add something. How can we get around this? Yeah, right? We can just be real grimy about it. And we can just wrap that whole thing in a powerful if statement. So I'm just going to go boop, boop, and go if session at a key of cart, what? Exists, valid, there. Yo, dog. Who said just leave it? Just leave it. Just do it. Here's what's going on. Ready? Check it out. You seen that like meme? Okay, never mind. Right. Session at a key of cart. The first time it comes up is what value? We just talked about it. Nil, which is true or false? False. So if false, don't do any of this. So this is the cleanest code that you can get. And this concept, right, which applies to all programming languages, is known as nil wrapping. If something's going to be nil the first time and then never nil again, you just check to see if it's nil first. So you can wrap your whole program and do a nil check. So it's nil wrapping. You're going to wrap the whole thing just to make sure, is it nil or not? Yeah? Cool? No? Yes? No? Let's reveal our votes here. Awesome. Good deal. All right, let's check. So let's see if that worked. Bloop. Wow. Amazing. Let's add these trash can nachos. Okay, nothing happened. Interesting. Let's add mac and cheese nachos. Interesting. What do you think is happening here? But you don't see anything. Why? Let's check. Ready? Watch this. I want to pause this code. Wow. Guess where I'm at? Bless up to Lord Rails. Did you know you could do this? Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, they knew. Wasn't as amazing as I thought it was. Session at a key of cart. Okay. So let's figure out what's happening here. How do we get to the next line? Wow. What happened? Why didn't it go to the next line? Where am I now from where I was?
Line 13.
Yes, I went from 9 to 13. I think there's a confusion about like trying to anticipate what I'm getting as much as like just trying to answer the exact question that I'm asking. Like the questions aren't hard, right? Like where was I and where am I now, right? So 9 to 13, this idea that we went to the next thing, we were thinking it was going to go to 10. I'm sorry. What the?
Maybe it's step to go to the next one.
Yes. Next will go to the next thing, not necessarily the next line. If I have a whole function here, if I go next, it'll go to the next function. If I want to go into the function or into the if statement or into the method, I have to step into it. So the correct command was step. Cool? How we feel about continue, next, and step? Awesome. All right. The idea is that I'm just trying to like show a number here. It's not showing. That's not super important. We're gonna fix that later. So what we're gonna do. We don't want numbers to come up there, right? Right? Do we want numbers to come up here? Like, do we want to see an array of numbers? No. What do we want to see? The name. The nacho name, right? Like, imagine you added something to your cart, and it was like, great, are you about to buy item number 743? You're like, I'm just trying to buy some Chucks, high tops. I don't know what 743 is. That's a bad user experience. So we want the name to come up. So the idea is, how do we pass something into the view file? How do I take a variable and make it accessible into the views? Yeah, you have to make it an instance, right? So what I want to do is I want to do like add cart items. So I want to make it accessible to the view. And now I need to somehow convert this array of numbers that are actually the IDs of the nachos into the nacho objects. That's really what the problem is now, right? Like I have a cart here, which is just an array of items, an array of numbers. So inside here, let's do some crazy stuff. Let's shut the server down, exit, and let's go into the console. What's a way that we know how to take an ID and return an instance? Find, right? So if I did something like nacho.find and I passed in 1, what would I get? The first nacho, right? Wow. The problem is we have an array of IDs. Let's see if we can do something wild. Let's see if find will take an array. Wow. Plus up to active record. Lord Rails, whatever, but active record, right?
It can find multiple things in an array.
It can find multiple objects. It can find it with an array. Find will find the first item and then stop. But how many arguments am I giving find? I'm giving it 1 array. Smart. Good question. All right, let's get out of here. We had learned that lesson. Yeah, you were trying to do it the hard way. Bless up to Lord Rails and active record. Easy peasy. So what do we really need to do? We need to do something like nacho.find. Passing in what? What is the array of numbers we have? Let's we have the cart. Cool. Get items from the cart is built in the application controller. Do I have access in here? So get items from cart. Bloop. If I were to call it right here, would it work? Remember what Nacho's controller is inheriting from. So inheritance says that if it's in there, I got the power. I wasn't going to sing it because my voice doesn't go that high, but yes. Cool? So if get items from cart returns an instance variable, that must mean inside my index page, let's split this even more. Now we're really developing. So instead of this, we have cart items. Instead of this, we have cart items. Let's get rid of this blast this by bug. How do we feel about at cart items being the Nacho objects? Remember, this is what I did. Ready? Bloop, 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 bloop. We used the cart before, but now I have at cart items. Because inside the index, it calls this method. This method, all it does is it gives me an instance variable which allows me to pass to the view, and it finds all of the cart items. So now they're Nacho objects. If they're Nacho objects, I'm going to change this to Nacho dot name. Let me get rid of this bug. Continue. So that actually worked before. I didn't like continue the by bug, like that was embarrassing. What the? That should have worked. Let's see this live debug. Very embarrassing. Yeah, let's just throw the by bug back in. Come on. What the? Oh, did I not save it? What the? Oh, that's why. Embarrassing. All right, cool. And there we go. I just didn't save the file. V embarrassing. Thank you. So if I wanted to add these chicken pot pie nachos, is it doing the bye-bye? Oh, that's right. I have to refresh, which means that it doesn't redirect. Yeah, after I add the item to the cart, so it hits this. So let's go back to the cart controller. It does this whole thing, and then it will redirect to the nachos path. Let's add these deluxe nachos. Ooh, bless up. Dessert nachos too? Let's get gross. Bless up. And so, sorry wasn't as fast as I had hoped, but this is the power of the session. Knowing what we know about the session, in that it's stored inside the cookie. If I were to delete my cookies, what will happen to the shopping cart? Any guess is fine. If I were to delete my cookies, what would happen to the shopping cart? Bloop. Let's just get rid of this. And then it will rebuild the session because it's getting a brand new cookie. In the same way that if I had these mac and cheese nachos, these trash can nachos, and then I were to go to something that doesn't track what would be in my cart in my incognito browser. If I add deluxe nachos here, translate this page. Okay. It will not be here. They are independent of each other because that browsing session is a different browsing session from here. Something clicked for you, very good. All right, cool. So, after review, nobody like that? It's good. No football fans in here. How do we feel about the stateless nature of these HTTP requests? These variables don't pass from request to request. We have to use something like flash or session. The difference between flash and session: flash is one request, session is forever and ever. Okay, no one got that either. Very good. Sessions make HTTP requests stateful because now you can hold data from request to request. And then lastly, how cookies enable sessions to work because they're passed back and forth with every request. And the sessions are the key values that are inside those cookies. Yeah.
So when does the session data get deleted in the browser side?
When does the session?
Like if you were to close that tab,
You-
open a new one, get back to the site, would you still have your cart where it left off?
Yeah. Like if I were to go to Google
So yeah,
and then I were to go back to localhost 3000,
it's
yeah, you're on Rails.
so you have to change it. You can't.
Here's
slide it and it's deleted.
here's the last thing I will say about that. The question is like, when do sessions kind of go away? You can set, and this would be a great blog post, you can set your sessions or your cookies or whatever to expire at a certain time. Which means that how many of you have like not logged in at all over the long weekend and then all of a sudden you had to sign back into Google? It's because after 2 or 3 days, it's like, oh snap, what if your laptop was stolen or whatever, and you're not using it every day like you normally would? Sign in the morning, shut down at 6, come in the next morning at 9, sign in again. If, however, someone stole it, right, your battery died, and then it went to China, I don't know why I used that, it went to a different place, I don't want to offend anybody, like, I don't know, went to Mars, and then they opened your laptop 3 days later after they finally found the charger, you should be logged out. Now think about the power of the session and when you want it to expire. Gmail, if that's logged in for a day or two, no big deal. But do you want to be logged into your bank account for a couple of days? Or do you want it to close out right when you leave the app? You want it to close out right when you leave the app, right? So think about your bank app. When do you have to sign in? Every time. That's right. Because of the sessions. You're welcome. Okay, great. If there's no other specific questions, that's all I have for you today. Thank you.